Bishop on Air, live with you each and every weekday morning. Thanks for hanging out. Trying to get that chat room loaded up for all those checking in. For some reason, it is not showing me. But we are live, so we'll see if we can get that chat room pulled back up. Always good to see people checking in. But find me anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air. It could be on YouTube. It could be on X or on Facebook. We've also got a channel going on Rumble as well. So really anywhere you can take this in live, you can join us there. Also, a lot of activity over the past 24 hours of the Discord server. And if you are following along, you can join that server. I do hope to do some more testing at the tail end of this, so if you want to try joining that, you can do so. Again, just follow that QR code, and you'll be able to get in. So check that out. But good morning to everybody who's joining us live. Appreciate that. Some of the things we're going to tackle today. We'll talk a bit about some legislation that's coming up at the Illinois State House next week. A couple of different House committees looking to, delve into some bills concerning firearms. So we'll take a look there. But we've also got to tackle a piece of legislation that we talked about yesterday concerning when police can pull people over. And that measure apparently is not going to go anywhere. So watch for that. Plus, continued violence in Chicago. You've got the mayor and the governor who planned some news conference action today. They're going to join together for what the governor's office says is an anti-violence initiative that's going to be unveiled. So we'll do a little bit of delving there too as well. All right, Bishop on Air here with YouTube, X, Rumble, Facebook, wherever. Appreciate you guys being here each and every weekday morning. So stay tuned, more coming up. The Illinois Sheriff's Association sounding off on a measure that would prohibit police from pulling people over for a host of violations, including speeding, including tinted windows, or improper lane usage, or not wearing a seatbelt, having a defective bumper, broken mirrors, bad lights, a whole host of different moving infractions. And this measure apparently is not going to go anywhere. And the sponsor, Justin Slaughter, Democrat member of the House of Representatives for Illinois, telling several outlets, including constituents, that he's not moving forward with this. So let's go ahead and get on into it. Bishop on Air with you here each and every weekday morning with the live stream, and we segment things out throughout the day. So I appreciate you guys being here each and every weekday morning. But let's go ahead and let's tap into a conversation I had with the Illinois Sheriff's Association president, executive director, rather, Jim Kychek, and had this conversation with him after yesterday's show and asked him about this legislation and whether or not this is going to go anywhere. Here's the executive director of the Illinois Sheriff's Association.
Well, obviously, when I read this, it made me turn my head a bit to say, I can't believe I'm reading this right now. Because, I mean, the way that this was written, as you well know, based on the reading of the bill, I mean, the synopsis covers it for rarely does a synopsis usually cover the bill pretty well, but in this case it does. So in essence, somebody could be going up to 25 miles an hour over the posted speed limit, and we couldn't stop them. That's not a primary reason for us to stop the vehicle. You think of the number of accidents in a school zone, in a residential area, kids out playing basketball, whatever the case may be. I mean, that's just, I don't even understand the base for wanting to put something like that out there. I think even more disturbing, though, was when I learned that the bill was being proposed by the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. So Kim Fox, her last year in office, is going to propose something like this. Just doesn't make any bit of sense to me from a prosecutorial standpoint how you would want to do this. And it's my understanding, I certainly don't want to speak on behalf of the state's attorneys, but I don't know of another state's attorney in the state that would be supportive of a measure like.
So talking with the executive director of the Sheriff's Association, he had said he talked to Justin Slaughter yesterday morning before I chatted with the executive director. And I asked, is this like just a conversation starter? Is it like a coffee table book type thing? Like, here's all the things that are causing problems with certain communities and why they get pulled over so much, and why don't we just limit the ability for police to pull people over? And it's not just that, it also essentially spelled out that any evidence of a crime other than what they got pulled over for, if the predicate was one of these issues, that evidence in another crime could not be administered in court. So that was yet another interesting little bit of that proposed bill. But Jim Kychek, executive director of the Sheriff's Association, saying that from his understanding, this thing's not going anywhere.
Well, I think he indicated to me, he called me this morning and indicated that this bill was drafted significantly more broadly than he ever intended to. He, quite honestly, he said, I take ownership of that. It never should have gotten out like this. There should be conversations. But this is way too intrusive of a bill for us to move forward. So it's his intention not to move the bill. He even discussed the possibility of tabling the measure. So I think that's good news. He assured me that this is a bill that will not move this spring session. He indicated that there may be talks in the future, about some of the other pieces and provisions of the bill that are less, that he would view as less egregious from a traffic stop basis. For example, maybe you mentioned window tint as a possibility. I don't want to speak for him on that, but he talked about the pretextual items. And just so you know, his basis, or the basis for the legislation, was the traffic stop study information that was put out in an article, I think probably about a month ago, in the Chicago Sun-Times regarding racial disparity in traffic stops. And, I talked to him about that too. He indicated that, he said, even the study, may have some faults in the study. So before we move forward on anything, if in fact there was going to be a move forward on anything, on his part, by the way, I'm not agreeing here at the Sheriff's Association that any of these changes should be made. In fact, our position has been and will be moving forward that we're opposed to this measure, regardless of the modifications that would be made to it. So, but at least, I appreciate his willingness to accept it, to give me a call and acknowledge, that the legislation is not well written, to say the very least, from his perspective, and it's not going to be something that moves forward.
So again, Kychek saying that he fully anticipates this thing is stalled. It's not going to go anywhere. And even Justin Slaughter providing similar types of comments to other publications as well. And I did have somebody send me a Facebook chat that they had with the representative indicating their displeasure of such a bill. But the representative replying saying that it's not going anywhere. It's really just a way to start a conversation. More from the executive director of the Illinois Sheriff's Association.
See less pieces of substantive legislation move through the process. With that level of expectation and the fact that we're we've got minimal time that's going to be occurring in the General Assembly before March 19th, which is the primary. You've got 2 months where I guess a lot could happen, but I don't know that I would expect a lot to happen this year with regards to pieces of legislation moving through. As far as things that we've got, we've got some issues that, obviously we would like to take a closer look at the list of detainable offenses, and more specifically, those offenses that are not detainable. However, I don't know that there's going to be enough information available to everyone involved by the point in time where we get through the legislative session to make substantial changes to the Pretrial Fairness Act and what we.
And again, Kajcek talking about the upcoming legislative session, and of course, with Slaughter's bill not going anywhere, what about changing the Pretrial Fairness Act? What about changing the Safety Act, the measure that's eliminated cash bail across the state? You still see stories regularly of people who are arrested and then they're let out, and then 5 hours later they get arrested again, and so on. You've got even migrants committing crimes up in the Chicagoland area that they're being arrested and then they're being processed and let out. More from Jim Kajcek.
We can detain people for. Obviously, there are other provisions within that where I think we would be very supportive of additional opportunities for the judges to make decisions and additional authority for them to be able to hold people that is not available to them today. I think we're going to see more of that. But the body of work, we're talking about 3.5 months that we've had for the Pretrial Fairness Act. So I don't know that we've seen everything come into full fruition in terms of changes that we would like to see made. And
those changes could be debated as the spring session goes on. They're coming back next week, by the way, Tuesday, February 6th. State legislature returns to really get into spring session. So will the Safety Act and any changes that may be needed be brought about? Will the Pretrial Fairness Act be amended at all? Will there be those types of conversations? Again, more from the executive director of the Illinois Sheriff's Association.
And I think it's challenging because what we see is a lack of one of the things that was in there. We've got repeat offenders. I'll give you that example. Let's say that I've got somebody that is a repeat offender that's arrested for retail theft. They're processed in, processed out pretty quick, right? They immediately go back, shortly thereafter and have another retail theft. Could be the next day, whatever. And again, they're processed in and released out the back. The challenge here is because at the back end of this, while you could, potentially they would be violating their pretrial release conditions, there is an opportunity to hold, but you have to prove that any less detention or that detention in a jail is necessary to get them to stop doing those things. And you have to show that they are a threat to the community or themselves, and you have to show that they are a willful flight. Those parameters placed on this make it very difficult for both the state's attorneys and for the judges. That's a conversation that to me is not necessarily, people are it's being misrepresented in some cases. And what I mean by that is, yes, I know people are using it when it works well and not using it when it doesn't work well. I want to look at things as much as possible as when can we detain somebody? Because there are opportunities even under cash bail. If you had somebody that you wanted to hold in custody, one of two things could happen, right? You could set the bail at such an amount that would be unachievable for them, or you could have set no cash bail. So there was an opportunity for that then. I think what we need to do is we're trying to level this up on a detention basis under the elimination of cash bail to make sure that the more of an opportunity to hold people exists than does today. And I don't think that we have that level of freedom for judges to be able to make that determination. So that's one of the big things that we're looking at. And judges previously could have done that on any offense, and they really don't have that opportunity now because there are only certain offenses that are detainable. So we're learning as we go, Greg, and I think we'll continue to learn, and there'll be, continue massagement of the Pretrial Fairness Act moving forward, but I don't know exactly what that looks like.
So again, Kajcek sharing with us some of the thoughts he has, not just about Justin Slaughter's bill, which he says is not going to go anywhere, and you're seeing more and more publications write about this now, but clearly it's stalled out. But could you see little tidbits of it come out? We'll, of course, track that throughout. But, of course, you also have the other criminal justice issues like the Pretrial Fairness Act and the Safety Act. So all these things likely going to be debated as the Illinois legislature returns next week. Appreciate you guys being here. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and follow along. Bishop on Air, anywhere. Anti-violence initiatives expected to be the focus today as Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson plan a joint news conference. I'm sure other officials are going to be there as well, but clearly this is going to be an interesting address, really, to the city of Chicago, who's been grappling with violence and fatal shootings outside of schools just in the past week, where I think a total of 3 young people were shot and killed. And then you've got all the other armed robberies that are happening and the carjackings and the smash and grabs. And clearly this is something that a lot of focus is going to be on today. Even after a shooting last night, several shot, 1 fatal. And we'll hear what Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson had to say with some live video that was posted on social media last night. But all of this comes, of course, after the Chicago City Council voted to pass a resolution urging for a ceasefire in the Middle East. All right, it's Bishop on Air. Thanks for hanging out with me each and every weekday morning. We, of course, do this live show from the comfort of my own home before I go off to my full-time gig at thecentersquare.com, where I cover the Illinois State House. But this is just me kind of continuing to flex my my talk radio muscles after being, in talk radio, in the news space, in the talk space for 15 years before I decided, you know what, work smarter, not harder, right? But let's get into it. Of course, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. So, if you just look at some of the headlines from the past 24 hours out of Chicago, a lot of focus has been on this ceasefire that was approved by the city council. And you've got the Chicago Sun-Times reporting that Chicago became the largest city in the nation to demand a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas, thanks to a symbolic resolution approved by a divided city council Wednesday, forcing Mayor Brandon Johnson to cast the tie-breaking vote. So this obviously was very contentious and something that led to a tie-breaking vote that the mayor had to provide. And the debate during the city council clearly was, pretty heated at times, and you even have criticism of it before so, highlighting just really how some see this as a bit ironic in a way. So there's a social media account, 16th and 17th District Chicago Police Scanner, that says, so is a ceasefire for the city of Chicago in order next in the city council, or are we not concerned with that? Then it provides a map of just the scale of shootings across the city and homicides in particular. So pretty incredible to see that map. And I'm not vouching for its accuracy at all, but clearly it's something I think has people being critical of the focus of the city council. So while the city council, of course, passes a ceasefire, and it came just a few ceasefire resolution for what's going on overseas, you have the school shooting that happened outside of a Chicago public school. 2 young people shot and killed there. What was that, late last week? And then this week, last night, you have Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson addressing media after yet another shooting outside of a school. Here's just some of what Mayor Brandon Johnson had to say last night.
The city of Chicago continues to grieve, and our hearts are heavy as these tragic shootings happen too often. And as we grieve and mourn the loss of not just this one individual, but other individuals in this city who have lost their lives due to the senseless gun violence. We hold our hearts and our grief close. The loss of life is horrific under all circumstances, but it is especially harsh when our young people are targeted. As a parent and as parents across this city, we do everything in our power to keep our children safe. So this hurts, and I know our city is hurting. But the individuals who are responsible for this kind of violence, it has to end. The harm and the chaos and the trauma that's being caused by individuals who do not value life. The full force of government will be used to bring those individuals to justice.
So what is that going to look like? Obviously, we may hear a bit more today as both Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker have a news conference where the governor's office says they're going to unveil anti-violence initiatives. So that'll be happening later on this morning at 11 in Chicago. Both the mayor and the governor are going to be there, and it does appear that they're going to have some Q&A that they are going to provide. So it'll be interesting to see what they have to say about the ongoing violent situation in Chicago. But Governor J.B. Pritzker taking to social media, highlighting one of his signature initiatives that he says is needed across the country. And this is a tweet that he sent out yesterday, saying that in Illinois, we have, quote, banned ghost guns, banned assault weapons, banned high-capacity magazines, implemented background checks on all gun sales. It's past time for Congress to do the same. And the governor, and others who support gun control are quick to say that, a ban on semi-automatic firearms is going to make the state safer. But others looking at the headlines out of Chicago, and especially some of the social media videos that you can easily find of young people with extended magazines on their handgun, what looks like they've got switches to make it an automatic handgun, and a variety of other types of firearms. Is there not more that could be done to crack down on that type of activity online with what could be gang related or however? But regardless, something I think that has a lot of people still kind of scratching their heads as to, these laws only impacting law-abiding people while criminals continue to commit serious crimes. So what will they address today when they unveil some anti-violence initiatives? I guess we shall see. It is Bishop on Air. Thanks for hanging out. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Join me each and every weekday morning here as we do this thing called talk radio journalism, I guess. I mean, it's online, so I appreciate you guys being here and catching it really any way you can. So more to come here with Bishop on Air. Measures impacting firearms going to be a focus in a couple of House hearings next week. What are those issues? Well, one deals with the task force, another deals with the FOID card. We'll touch on those here in just a moment. Thanks for hanging out. It's Bishop on Air. You can find me anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air. You can also find me on X, on Facebook, on YouTube here each and every weekday morning, on Rumble, where we break down all kinds of stuff. Of course, we've been tracking the gun ban litigation in the state of Illinois, where there's going to be a hearing tomorrow in the Southern District of Illinois Federal Court where you've got the plaintiffs and the defendants in a challenge against the state's gun ban, going to be spelling out more of, well, what kind of evidence they want to bring forward, what kind of witnesses or expert testimony they're going to provide, as this case, well over a year now, since the gun ban was put into place, this case now moving forward on its merits. So that's happening tomorrow afternoon. While you've got other cases in the Northern District of Illinois being stayed or put on pause, while plaintiffs in those Northern District cases are expected to file to the U.S. Supreme Court for another attempt to get the court to intervene in Illinois' gun ban. All other attempts thus far have not succeeded, but you do have the Southern District of Illinois saying we're done with the preliminary activity. Let's get to the merits on this. So that's going to play out in the weeks and months ahead. Meanwhile, you've got the state legislature coming back into session, and it's still early in the session, right? I mean, we haven't even gotten into the second week of February, and that's where they're going to be coming back on the 6th, Tuesday. And there's several committee hearings already spelled out in the House and the Senate, the state legislature, and in particular, you've got the Judiciary Committee that's going to be meeting Tuesday afternoon. And they're going to take a couple of different bills here. So let's go ahead and pull up the Illinois General Assembly website, ilga.gov. Again, ilga.gov, where you can go and see some of this yourself. And trust me, you can spend an exorbitant amount of time filtering through all of this. I mean, I do this for my day job, right? To go through these bills and to track the various committees that are happening and where this legislation's at and so forth. But in the House Judiciary Committee, which meets Tuesday afternoon, they're going to take up, possibly, doesn't mean that they're going to take this up, but they possibly could take up House Bill 1224. So what this is from State Representative Thaddeus Jones, and it would essentially create a task force. 24 police officers appointed by the director of the Illinois State Police, provides that members of the task force shall have a chairperson, that the members of the task force shall receive no compensation. But what's the ultimate goal of the task force? They shall meet at least once monthly to study ways to reduce violence in local communities caused by the illegal use of firearms, and to make recommendations to the governor and General Assembly on suggested legislative solutions to the problem. Provides that the task force shall submit an annual report to the governor and the General Assembly before the 31st of December of each year, and final report 5 years after the creation of the task force. So it's the Ileana Task Force that they're wanting to create to try to find solutions to the ongoing crisis of violence with firearms. And as we just talked in the previous segment, that's impacting Chicago quite significantly. But you also have another measure that could come up in the House Judiciary Committee. This one from Republican State Representative Amy Ellick. Deals with firearms, but in a different way. So let's go ahead and pull the synopsis of this bill up. It says that, and this is House Bill 4260. Again, bills that are going to have potential hearings in the Illinois House Committee of the Judiciary Tuesday. So Tuesday afternoon, they could bring this bill up as well in committee. House Bill 4260 deals with the FOID card, the firearm owner identification card, and concealed carry. So let's just read through the synopsis here. It amends the Firearm Owner Identification Card Act, provides that the Illinois State Police denies if they deny an application for or revoke and seize a FOID card because an individual has been a patient in a mental facility. The notice to the applicant or cardholder of denial of an application for or revocation of the person's FOID card shall include the date or dates of admission of the person to the mental health facility and the name of the facility. How I'm interpreting that is, if you're going to say that this person was on a mental health check of some sort, and that's the prohibitor for them having their FOID card, then you gotta show what your evidence is, right? I mean, it's this whole idea of you get a chance to face your accuser. So if state police say this person had a mental health issue, they were hospitalized for mental health reasons, which would be a prohibitor, depending on that level of hospitalization. then they would have to essentially provide the documentation. So going back to this, you've got they have to provide not just the facility, but also the dates and such. It also provides that if the FOID card review board does not, within 90 days of filing the applicant's appeal of a denial of a FOID card or revocation of a FOID card, then if they don't render a decision within the 90 days, the failure to render a decision shall constitute a rejection of the appeal, and the applicant or cardholder may appeal to the circuit court for relief. It provides that the cost, and this is separate, this is kind of another issue within the FOID card and the concealed carry system for the state of Illinois, but Amy Ellick's bill could also provide the cost for replacing a combined FOID card and CCL is $5 if the person's changed his or her address. And it amends the Firearm Concealed Carry Act to make various other changes as well. So again, that's just a couple of different bills that are going to be heard possibly in committee next week in the Illinois House. So again, Tuesday they come back and they're going to be dealing with a whole host of things. It's not just these two issues. They've got stuff on insurance. They've got stuff on education. They're going to have discussions about getting more mental health workers in the mental health system in Illinois. How do you attract more qualified employees to do that type of work? So those are clearly some things that they're going to be focusing on next week. Will they address the migrant issue? Will they start talking about budgets? Who knows? But another issue that came up as well this week was a bipartisan bill to essentially go and say, hey, we want to get rid of the estate tax. So if you follow me at thecentersquare.com/Illinois, you can see the story that we put together about a measure giving farm families relief. And this, of course, is a bipartisan push with State Senator Dave Kaler and Republican State Senator Sue Rezin and a whole host of other legislators and farm advocates wanting to change the estate tax. So they may see this being debated and brought up. Again, go check out thecentersquare.com for more on that. But I did want to just go back to the firearms issue briefly here. This was something that I've seen in a couple of different places, and people obviously raising questions about the state's gun ban and who is and who is not impacted by this, especially in the context of this headline where you've got Alec Baldwin facing criminal charges, and he's pleaded not guilty. So you see the headline, Alec Baldwin pleads not guilty in Rust involuntary manslaughter charge. This stems from a firearm being discharged on a movie set. Now, this wasn't in Illinois, but still, a firearm was discharged on a movie set and somebody was struck and killed. Alec Baldwin just so happened to be holding that smoking gun. And after some charges were brought up and then not brought up, he was brought back up on other charges, and now he's pleaded not guilty in that case. So that'll be fascinating to watch play out. But somebody had asked, hey, we got movies and shows that are being made here in Illinois. Some of them involve the use of firearms. Is that within the law to allow for that? And if you pull up the Protect Illinois Communities Act and go to page number 101 on the PDF, you will see that the provisions of this section do not apply to the manufacture, delivery, sale, import, purchase, or possession of an assault weapon, 50 caliber, for those who, in this list of items here. All right. And if you scroll down, you will see that, it doesn't impact sports shooters, doesn't impact people traveling through the states within 24 hours. It also, doesn't impact, various other people like the Sparta Sports Complex, also for certain hunting purposes. But if you continue to go down, you'll see here Section V on page 104. The manufacture, transportation, possession, sale, or rental of blank firing assault weapons and 50 caliber rifles, or the weapon's respective attachments, to persons authorized or permitted, or both authorized and permitted, to acquire or possess these weapons or attachments for the purpose of rental for use solely as props for a motion picture, television, or video production or entertainment event. So they are exempt from the state's gun ban. And there's tax credits for movie production, and the state regularly highlights that and heralds all of the economic activity they have with the film and tax credit, the film and movie tax credits that Illinois gives. Well, they also have some productions that involve firearms, and apparently state law allows for those firearms to be used for film and movies and TVs, as long as it's blank firing, it says. So there's that for you to digest. Appreciate it, as always, you guys hanging out, and each and every weekday morning be here, because we'll break down these issues and more on each and every weekday morning. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Appreciate you guys taking part in the show and being here each and every weekday morning. All right, find me anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air. All right, guys, I'm going to give this another shot today because I did boost my internet considerably. So get out your phone if you want to help me test this, the Discord server, where I hope to be able to take your phone calls. Well, I don't know if you can call them phone calls, but we hope to be able to get this and all the bugs worked out. But really, the best way to do it is to test it. So why not just test this live? So if you can, get out your phone, scan that QR code if you are privy of that, and we'll see if we can fire this thing up and maybe hear from some voices, if at all possible. So again, scan that QR code and join the Discord server. And this is an experiment on my part too, so we'll see if this works out. And let me just unmute and see if we can fire this up. Show Warbot jumping in. You've got Warsaw Patriot as well. And several others coming in and out. So I can hear the prompts. I can hear the prompts of people chiming in, at least dropping in. But can they hear me? So I've got the audio pulled up here. Warsaw, if you are willing to talk, go ahead and talk. And I want to know if this back and forth goes really well. Because yesterday when we tested it, I had just plain Jane internet. Now I've boosted it to at least the highest I can in my area. So if you could just sound off, let me know you're there. Still sounds like there's a little bit of a delay. So I think I still got to work some of this out here. Anybody in the room right now willing to sound off? Got to unmute yourself. That's so 2020. I can hear you. Yep. How much of a delay is there? That's what I want to know.
Morning, Mr. Bishop.
Morning. Got others chiming in. And it sounds like there's a significant delay. I don't know if that's because this is a push to talk type of chat room, or if this is maybe a different type of format, but yeah, there seems to be a significant delay.
Could be minor backbeat, who knows?
It's interesting. Curious if I can mess with some settings and still try to get this all together. So, all right, that's enough of me testing this, at least for today. We may do some more tomorrow. So I appreciate it again, you guys being here as I continue to work out some bugs. But I really do want to be able to welcome you guys in and hear your thoughts on a lot of this stuff. And maybe we get this worked out to where it's seamless and we're ready to rock and roll. But if you want to join that Discord server, listen, I don't moderate it, so you guys just please moderate yourselves. hopefully we get the bugs worked out. I appreciate you guys each and every weekday morning. Thumbs up. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the Thursday. We'll be back at it to wrap up the week tomorrow here with Bishop on Air.